Morning. Don't enable streamer mode. I disable it. Somebody DM me? Yeah. Yes, that's exactly why I turn it off, because it just says, I want to see who, like, I'm not showing my Discord. So, cool. How are you guys today? Groceries came right as we went live. We got them delivered today. You had 2 salads at Riptide? Yeah. Oh, we're going to get to beta bracket. Don't worry. Don't worry. And yes, I am proud of you. The Kalahari at Texas had a couple of, like, grab-and-go places. I can't remember if the Ohio one had, like, little shops where, like, convenience stores. Like, I know there's that gift shop at the front, but there's just so much crap, like, in that front lobby area. I would assume there's some, like, grab-and-go salad somewhere at the resort. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify. While you are busy celebrating my wife's birthday, tweeting angst about not being invited to High Ink, falling through the floor of the map because you are charging your Kraken head on versus a deployed Tentabrella. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Plus server voting has come out, and that is cool. That's great. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't necessarily care who does and doesn't get into the plus servers, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, this X amount of people should be in +3 and +2 should look like this. Like, that's not. I see plus servers as an interesting social experiment, much more than an indicator of skill level. If anything than that. I looked back through it. I always look at it each month just to get like a sense of where things are. I think it's fine. I mean, there's some people that didn't get into +3 where I'm like, really? That player? Like, there's a player who won a weekly this week and still didn't get in. But that again, it doesn't mean anything. And well, we talked to Baja yesterday, and the things Baja said are something I don't think are wild takes, that the plus servers aren't that great of practice anyways. So if you didn't get in and you're upset about it, sorry, but I don't know. I feel like it was fine. I feel like the dramatic change from 50 to 60% wasn't felt, or maybe Sindow's tweet of like, here's what the reality would be like this month if we followed the same guidelines. Maybe that scared some voters into being like, yeah, maybe we should be a little bit more lenient about certain things and let some more people in. But I can confirm the suggestion acceptance rate for +3 is higher than the acceptance rate for Harvard. I believe Harvard's acceptance rate was around 3% according to Google. Much higher for +3. So there's some improvement there. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. It's Low Ink Week. Unless it's not. Low Ink is taking place Saturday. We already got all the teams we need for it. It took us a grand total of 3 minutes to get all the teams we needed for this upcoming Low Ink. Again, it's just a ladder, one-day thing. More so for our benefit than you guys, but so be it. We will have a stream for it. We'll treat it like a normal Low Ink. The team that wins it won't be auto-banned for winning that Low Ink, although I wouldn't be surprised if the team that wins it ends up getting banned from Low Ink anyways, just for what they do in tournaments outside of it. Seems to be how the case goes with these things. Also, High Ink is on Sunday. Brush is currently making the graphic. I can confirm we've already reached out to the 16 teams we wanted, and all 16 of them have confirmed. So we have our 16 teams. We will officially announce that whenever Brush is able to put that together, if you haven't gotten a DM or been added to a server yet, you can safely assume you haven't been invited to be a part of High Inc. That's not because, like, the specific reasons I can tell you. 42 teams applied for this High Inc. and we only took 16. So the vast majority, our acceptance rate for High Inc. is probably the same for +3, to be honest with you. So if you're not happy that you didn't get into High Inc., don't worry. You're not getting into this High Inc., but this could be an indicator of if we did a High Inc. 4, would we allow more teams? Now we know that there's this huge of a demand for it. High Inc. 3 is going to be as much of an experiment as this upcoming Low Inc. is going to be. So if you didn't get in this time, we might, depending on how things go this Sunday, this could be High Inc. 4, if that ever becomes a thing, could become something to where, okay, now we know we could make this bigger if we find ways to make it work or something like that. I don't know. But that announcement will be coming out shortly. Breeze, sign up for Breeze. Go sign up for Breeze if you can. It's on Thanksgiving weekend for us in America. We're going to be celebrating the time we decided we don't want to be a part of the United Kingdom anymore, or at least not live in the United Kingdom. We fought for independence several years later. We're going to be stuffing ourselves silly with turkey, while all of our lovely friends across the pond are going to be playing competitive Splatoon. 300 plus people have signed up. They want to get to 350. That is a monstrous tournament. So still time to sign up for it, I believe. So take advantage of that. You can't buy passes to Breeze to play it anymore. You can buy tickets to spectate. Okay, so that confirms what I was seeing on Twitter. I saw something like passes end at this date, but you can still do other stuff. So you can buy spectator things. I could tell you from experience with lands in North America that if you spectate an event, there is a high likely chance that you will be asked to play for someone, especially a multiple day LAN. Our teammate booked their flight during round 1 of Swiss, so they can't make it. We need a emergency sub, and beggars can't be choosers. You can't just adhere anyone. So if you haven't signed up to play, you want to spectate, bring your Switch with you anyways. You never know. Today we are going to be talking with Pinky, no brain included, from Dapple Productions. It is a lot of Dapple production talk on the Popcast as of late. So let's do one more episode to get it out of the way so that we don't have to talk about Dapple Productions ever again. And you know what? Since I'm talking about Dapple so much, there's got to be room on this mic somewhere in the shot. Maybe on Stuffle, or the moose with the pop gun behind me is kind of blocked with hats and the microphone. But Dapples, come on. You guys got to send me some swag now. I'll put it up somewhere. Maybe a small sticker right here. We can make it work. I'm not just going to rep the org that I guess eventually will become a tax write-off for me at some point. I don't know. I'm here to support all the competitive Splatoon scene, not just the one I am a part of. Also, if you're wondering if I'm going to do a Low Inc. preview on Friday, I ain't. There's no point in doing a Low Inc. preview for a one-day tournament where the winner is just getting a pat on the back and see you next month kind of thing. So I'm not gonna give you the top 10 of 60 teams that signed up, even though I did that for a couple of Decembers ago when we had 50 some odd teams sign up. All that and more, but first, a severe congratulations to the tournament organizers of 20XX number 5. Baja Blast and the rest of the Dapple Productions crew did a fantastic job putting on a tournament that seemingly everyone loved. And if there was any negative, I didn't see it, nor did I care to go hunting for it, because I enjoyed watching this event. And from someone who doesn't play the game anymore, that's all I really care about, is just sitting back on my couch and watching it as my son barfs all over me. So I'm very happy that this event took place for one specific reason. This is the first tournament, to my knowledge, at least in the modern competitive Splatoon era, where the TO said, wait a minute, why are we giving 100% of the money to you guys when we could make some of that revenue and reinvest in ourselves? Now, 25% is a good step in the right direction. I would argue you could make it a lot higher than that. It's not like, oh, well, I'm not going to sign up for this event if the TOs are going to start giving the split there. But it's up for every organization to decide what they want to do. IPL has yet to take that plunge, despite me begging for it to happen. Dapple Productions said, let's be the first. Dapple Productions is the pioneer, the leading industry in deciding to make some revenue from these major events back towards themselves. And as much as the IPL guy, it sucks to say that, but credit where credit is due. Dapple Productions did it first, and they deserve some credit for that. And why not? Why not do it? What do they have to lose? Are they going to get less teams to sign up? Viewership going to go down? Hype is going to go down? Yes, all three of those things did decline and have been slowly declining from the first 20XX of Splatoon 3 to where we are today. But that has nothing to do. That's not related to the prize pool thing. Case in point, the prize pool for 20XX number 4 had $1,000 more starting prize pool than the previous 20XX before it, and things were already declining since then. In fact, things are pretty much slowerish across the board of every single tournament ever. SOS has not hit 64 teams in 3 weeks, which is a huge drought for them. Low Ink's only got 60 teams this month as well. That's crazy. Things are, people are starting to get a little bit burned out. We need to get some turkey, and then we'll be right back into things. But I hope this is the future of things to come, of TOs starting to think about themselves. Again, it's so frustrating to go through all this stuff. I looked at the Looney Help Desk today, and I'm thinking, why are they putting up with this? Why? There's no benefit for it. And I'm not sitting here saying money makes everything instantly better, like $25. Oh, now I can deal with idiots and help desk. But it's the incentive. The drive and passion can only go so far. We got to start thinking of ways to reinvest in ourselves. And I hope this is the beginning of great things to come, with TO starting to think about things like that outside of the normal scope of way that we've been thinking about things. Now I know what you're saying, because I've been talking about the community guidelines for about 4 straight episodes now. But Popgun, isn't one of the community guidelines listing something about tournaments are not allowed to recuperate a profit for themselves? 2 things. 1, it seems like if you get a license, that doesn't really matter. And number 2, I've been kind of reporting on for the past couple of episodes. I'm really getting the sense from my uncle that works at Nintendo that Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Europe really don't give a darn about anything that we're doing, even as it regards to the community guidelines. I genuinely believe none of them care or will care. So don't even consider that. Initially, when the community guidelines came out, it's like, well, darn, now TOs can't make any money at all, just as we're starting to think about it. That's not going to hinder anything. That's going to be a 0 factor. That is a Popcast guarantee. Now, I said with Super Jump, as I was recapping that I wish the narrative was about the actual matches that took place, because there was a lot of interesting and exciting matches that took place in Super Jump. Instead, my lead segment was dealing about how we should have been an opportunity to reinvest within IPL, reinvesting back within themselves, and didn't happen. And we shouldn't be sitting here having conversations about frickin' alias rules. But that was what was driving the conversation on Twitter at the end of Super Jump. Not the case this time around. we get to talk about, from this point forward, exclusively the action that took place in the actual video game, which is the only reason any of us are here, and not stupid nonsense that had no impact on anything absolutely at all. By the way, isn't it funny how quickly a tournament can change based off of just one team signing up out of nowhere, or seemingly out of nowhere? Was I the only one that didn't recognize FT Win was playing in this tournament until I went on Twitch on Saturday? Which, to be completely blunt, if it's not an IPL event, I'm usually not turning on my stream on a Saturday unless it's like an LSL, and I know I'm going to talk about it at some point. But if it's a 2-day event, Saturday streams are kind of lackluster as far as, well, the Sundays when the teams actually that you want to see are the teams that are going to play. But when it comes to Saturday, typically you look at a stream and you're just like, okay, I can watch these two teams any low ink on stream, or any SAC, or any Squid Junction or Paddling Pool. Like, I've seen these teams every single week. I don't really care what they're doing against each other in the group stage when I know they're not going to have an impact on anything. Well, I pull up Twitch and I see Keo is streaming on Saturday. So I was like, all right, I don't even know what team Keo's playing on. Let me just pop in and see what Keo's teammates are and what poor saps they're playing in this Saturday round. Oh, they're playing Last Resort on Saturday. That's weird. And it's FT Win that Keo is playing with. Keo, Biscuit, Bursty, and Zeres have formed together to form FT Win back from the dead. And they're playing a team like Last Resort on Saturday? Why is that happening? That's not a matchup you typically see. Now, it's still a mismatch. It doesn't matter how you butter it up. FT Win is still going to be the heavy favorite against Last Resort. 3-0, they 3-0'd them. But still, that's still a matchup you don't expect to see early on. Like, that was before the redemption stage. That was the group's finals of their double elimination bracket where FT Win and Last Resort were playing against each other. So that, just looking at that one set, sparked two questions for me. Question number one. FT Win is a thing now? Again? They're back? Okay. That's, I did not realize that was a thing. Now, when Starburst lost, I forget what it was. I think it was the Nintendo tournament that they were playing in that they lost, the most recent one. Immediately you saw Keo tweet out like, hey, look at my bio. And Biscuit tweet out, hey, look at the bio. And Bursty tweet out, hey, look at my bio. And all of them had FT Win up in their bio. And we've been tricked by this before. There's been times when Keo has said, hey, this new team is forming, or I'm joining this team, only for it to be like, LOL, did you really think I was serious, you idiots? So that's what I thought it was. All right, little boy that cried wolf, I'm not falling for it again. FT Win is not a real thing going forward. But when you see a team called FT Win sign up for a tournament, and it's those players, you have to believe it's the real deal. Because as I was talking about on the last episode of the Popcast previewing 20XX, how top-level teams really care about their brand and make sure that they don't call themselves by their official name unless they got every single player they got available and they know they're going to do well. FT Win was the team that, I don't know if they pioneered it, but during their era, they were very much making sure that if they didn't have every single thing in their favor, they were not calling themselves FT Win. It would always be not FTW, which was the team that lost grand finals to Starburst in that first Riptide. You can't say they beat FT Win. It was not FTW. And the first ever Low Tide City, it was Keo, Ice, Bagel, and Biscuit that were playing for they were signed up originally as FT Win for that tournament, and then the day before the tournament went live, asked the TOs to change their name from FTWin to not FTW. Those 4 players apparently wasn't good enough to use the actual FTWin brand, and it's not like they were in danger of losing and sacrificing their brand at all anyways, because they curb stomped that whole tournament. They lost one singular game the entire time to Blush, who majority of them eventually went on to become Smoothie. But I could tell you firsthand from playing not FTW at that first Low Tide City, they were not taking it seriously. They were literally watching a Valorant tournament in between games during a set. So I don't know. My point being, if they sign up as FTWin, they must feel extremely confident because they know the brand, what the brand FTWin means and what they're putting on the line. And they know if they sign up with that brand name and it doesn't do well, stonks go down. Sell before this FTWin crash. So I guess they're a real thing now going forward, which is awesome, I guess. And they did a fantastic job getting second place in this tournament, I believe as the 5th seed, which, by the way, the 5th seed is fair. It's totally fair because these players have been playing. And this is something that I find weird. FTWin's back. Yeah. The name FTWin is back. It's not like Keo, Bursty, Biscuit, and Zeres have been away from the game. Bursty seems like has been playing in the least amount of tournaments, but has been playing in a lot as of late, including Riptide, where they won. Keo's been playing in pretty much every single major with either Crush Soda or Flippa Floppa or tag teaming with Starburst or in Overlord tournaments or whatever. Like these players, it's not like these players are coming out of nowhere, and they're always doing pickups with each other or some combination of them and Jackpot and Alliance Rogue or Starburst or something. So this isn't like the return of the king. They've been here. This isn't Michael Jordan coming out of retirement. This is just LeBron leaving Miami to go back to Cleveland for a second time. That's what's going on here, which is fine. But the narrative of, oh, they came back. No, they were always here. Just change whatever to a different name. And there they are yet again. So that was my first takeaway from Alliance Rogue versus FTWin, or Last Resort versus FTWin. My second takeaway was this. Why are these two teams playing on Saturday? That is, it's not a match you typically see here. And so be it. So normally, you wouldn't get a match like this until a Sunday. So there's two things that are a little bit different here. First off, Toasty's double elim group format. Wrap your head around that if you haven't been playing in this. Double elim groups has been sort of perfected to this point. The first time this format was run was Storm Break almost a year ago. The problem with that one was there was no redemption bracket. So you had to finish first or second in your double M group to advance to the next stage of the tournament. The problem is you're only isolated to the teams within your group. So one team could literally block you from moving on, whereas some other formats, a secondary team has to block you. So the adjustment was made in Super Jump this past year. Double M groups again, but this time including a redemption bracket. So you don't play the losers bracket in your double M group. Instead, you get mixed into a redemption round, which is still you lose once and you're done, but you get to play somebody that wasn't in your group initially. So it's not just one team that's knocking you out from advancing forward, which works out in this case. That makes things more interesting. And the fact that Super Jump's redemption round was a little bit sluggish to get going. I feel like whatever start.gg issue happened in that wasn't a case here, so that kind of cleaned up that and made this a little bit better. So Toasty's double M group thing, giving it more time to figure out the issues and how to improve it, seems like it's gotten to a point to where it's perfected, and the response, the feedback I've seen about it has been really positive. So that's awesome to see. It's from somebody who was skeptical of the format for a while, to see it make the adjustments and grow to what it is. this might be the format we see in majors going forward. So hats off to Toasty for being stubborn about that and ultimately making it work to the point that it is. But the big change here is why you're seeing a team like Last Resort and FT Win play each other on Saturday. In the past, the double elim alpha bracket was 32 teams. And I don't know if this is because there were only 70 teams that signed up or it was intended to be this anyways. But now, alpha brackets in the other brackets were only 16 teams each. So basically what you were seeing is that round 1 of 32 played out on Saturday in theory, as opposed to it playing out in the round of on Sunday when there's 32 teams. So only 16 teams make alpha bracket. And because of that, you see a lot of teams, which I'm going to show you in a minute, who you would assume would be in top 32, but didn't make the cut and fell down to a beta bracket. And oh boy, wait till you see what happened in that beta bracket. Whoo! But that was my takeaway from just looking at that one individual thing, and that made me appreciate this tournament a lot more, because there's matches on Saturday that have huge implications on Sunday versus, well, okay, we all know what grand finals is going to be. All this other nonsense is just a waste of time until we get there. More meaningful matches quicker is what we're getting at there. And again, I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with the fact that low level just did not come out for this. I looked at the seeding beforehand, and a lot of the teams at the bottom most of them were banned from low inc. Like, there is a very small handful of actual low level teams. They just whether they were stuck doing 20 Ludi matches to reschedule, or they just didn't care, they didn't show up. And I think that might have made the tournament a little bit more interesting. I think if you have a lot more low-level sign-up, FT Win versus Last Resort won't meet until a top 16 if both teams qualify for it. Instead, it's FT Win versus like an SAC team in their winter finals. Something like that. Whew. So let's take a look at how the format of the tournament, combined with the less teams that signed up in it, how it affected each bracket on Sunday. And I don't have a whole heck of a lot to say about everything, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it bracket by bracket. And yes, I didn't realize this. There was an actual Delta bracket today. Thank you. That's not equivalent to that. So we'll just take a quick look at this Delta bracket here. You see this, this is an important thing to note for later. This DQ is, if you're on Battlefy, when somebody drops, they put like a little strike through their name. That's how you know they drop. Here, they put the Dairy Queen sign next to them. And you saw a couple of Dairy Queens here in the very bottom bracket. So be it. A lot of these teams, I don't know, like they could have dropped beforehand. Like the 3 teams that dropped, Honda Squivik, Orca Balestra, Mylag, and ultimately Super Team 5. Like, all those teams are pretty strong in their own right. Am I saying they're going to beat Squid Emoji, who's in Div 5? I don't know. Super Team 5 didn't. But the one thing I will say about this match in Div 5 is, for Squid Emoji, tying this into Ludi, how things can get a little bit jank here. And I think I have nope, we got it. Here is the group that Squid Emoji is in. And I haven't had time to look at all of these things, but there is, I'm assuming there's some other groups that have this kind of scenario. But Squid Emoji went 4-1 and have a 3-way tie with teams going 4-1. Imagine only losing one game in your Ludi group and you don't make playoffs. That's tough. The secondary tiebreaker is fair. It's points against. So, like, all the teams that in the matches you don't win, how many points do you score? Those things still are important. So that made the difference here. But yes, Squid Emoji technically wins their group by the skin of their teeth because they didn't lose as bad. I think forever they might have lost to them 5-4 or something like that. That's the only thing I could really say about Squid Emoji and Delta Bracket. So there you go. They won Delta Bracket. And they're on their way to Div 5 playoffs at the same time. Now, the one bracket other than Alpha that's actually worth taking a look at, if I can get it to load up here, is Gamma Bracket. So here you go. This is what the Delta Bracket or Gamma Bracket of 20XX5 looked like. Only one team dropped. Sanctuary got Dairy Queened, and everybody else actually played all the way throughout. So nicely done to you guys. Seemed like a competitive bracket, somewhat highlighted by Triggerfish Zone Supremacy and Crossfire. I kind of want to see more of Crossfire play. They beat Triggerfish in a Game 5 here. They were, I forget what div they're in. I feel like they're in a Div 3 or something like that. Or maybe a Div 2, quite honestly. I feel like we gave them a pretty good seed, thinking back on them specifically. They're just a team that I feel like should be playing more, much like Triggerfish, but probably only play on like these weekend things. Regardless, none of them really held a candle to this team that's 11-12. Guy yells at skull emoji thing. This team mostly kind of curb stomped everybody there. Only getting tested in round 1 to a team called Get Hydrated that pushed them to a Game 5, and then they only lost a handful of games since then, taking care of business. So hats off once again to Gamma Bracket. You're that perfect spot to where it's like, oh, it's not going to be embarrassing if we win Delta Bracket. And it's also, well, we didn't even come close to making Beta Bracket, so there's something for us to play for. In this scenario, I feel like Gamma is always the bracket that's going to be the most populated and actually played out. So when you have only 16 teams that make Alpha Bracket, and that means your Beta Bracket is going to be filled with a lot of teams that could have potential to do really well, but didn't do enough to make it to Alpha Bracket. So, how many teams do you think, without looking at the bracket, dropped before the tournament started in Beta Bracket? I'll give you the answer because I don't have time to wait for you. Out of 16 teams, we are looking at 8 that did not play. Only half the teams that played in that made Beta Bracket actually played in it. 8 dropped. Now, I want to make this clear. I don't discredit anyone for dropping from this. Like, what if you are a team that was trying to win this tournament? Honestly, what do you have to gain by playing in a Beta Bracket? You have nothing to gain. The only thing you have is to lose to somebody to upset you, and then they go on the Twitter and result you, which they're allowed to do, but that's the only thing you're really playing for here. Nobody's going to feel happy if Star Bust wins Beta Bracket. That they're not going to tweet that out. They're not. Now, if this was low ink and you got teams that are grinding, okay, we wanted to win this tournament, but now we fell down to Beta Bracket. I have always said, and I'll stand by this, I don't condone dropping out of Beta Bracket. I'm also not going to condemn it. I'm going to ramp that up 100 times on the not condemn here. I don't feel bad about these teams dropping from Beta Bracket. This is always going to happen. I promise you. And that's not a Splatoon mentality. This is in everything. Could you imagine HBox not making top 8 of Genesis 10? And they're like, hey, you're not going to win the tournament. But there's this side bracket. It's not going to have a stream. It's not going to have a prize. But you qualified for that. You think HBox is going to go through and play that on Sunday? Of course not. So I don't blame any of these teams from saying, no, thank you. I'm not going to participate in it. Whoosh. But this, as long as it's the 16 teams make Alpha and not 32 like it's been in the past, Beta Bracket, I promise you, is always going to look like this. That's just the nature of the beast. To the teams that did play in it. Oh, by the way, shout out to Sweet Tooth and Never Back Down. bless their hearts, the only two teams that had to actually play in round one. The only two teams that had to play in round one. They're looking here and saying, really? You didn't drop? I had to play you and not the other teams that did drop? Sweet Tooth getting the win here. Sweet Tooth making it all the way to the losers finals before Love Deluxe knocked them out here. But the team that win this one is Foams number 24. And I got a bone to pick with Foams number 24. How come a pickup project, whatever you want to call them, a side team, could play in 24 different tournaments? But we got teams that form out of people's asses that have no results and play in a handful of tournaments, and they disband, and they got a team Twitter, and they got a team Discord, and all of this stuff. Foams, if you're going to play in 24 tournaments with each other, and you're going to do fantastic in pretty much all 24 tournaments that you played in, why not just become an actual thing? And I don't know, I'm sure like these players are on actual teams, but eventually I would love to see Foams just become a real team and just call themselves Foams Infinity. You can trademark that. You guys can have that name. They win beta brackets. They can technically say they won a bracket that had Starbust, Last Resort, Narwhal Gaming, Whale Game, and Squidding Good in it. Oh my! Technically they can. And if they were a low level team, they would put that in their send out bios, and as we typically see teams do in that. That's your beta bracket, baby. That's. Oh man! And you guys thought the third place match of the Ink TV Resurgence League was bad. I told you guys that was going to be a crap show. Oh, Spark was in there as well. Oh yeah, Spark. I'm sorry. Spark did actually play in this one. I'm sorry. Foams did beat Spark, 3-2. I just got picked up because of the Dairy Queen that happened over there. Man. By the way, some of the teams that dropped made it all the way to losers round 2 because they kept playing other teams that dropped as well. How do you decide if two teams drop, which one gets the win over the other in that format? I wonder what Start GG, somebody like actually programmed that out. But none of that matters. What we care about is the big boy bracket. So let's take a look here at Alpha Bracket. And this is fantastic. I mean, when you only have 16 teams playing at the start of Sunday, A, it makes things go quicker. B, you're allowed to get away. This tournament still lasted like 6 hours or something like that. That's mainly because losers was best of 5, starting, I believe, at quarterfinals here. Yeah, no. It started the round before that. Losers round 3 started off being best of 5, and Duck Motif took advantage of all of that, pushing a lot of these sets to a game 5, dragging things out as long as they possibly could. That slows things down, but it makes losers bracket more fair. That's the hard trade-off. You're like, I don't want to play best of 3 matches. Well, it's okay. Well, the longer your match goes, the more FT Win has to sit here and twiddle their thumbs and wait to play the game again. So it's the weird trade-off. Like, do you make losers more competitive? Do you hinder your team at the top? But that's what happened. You can't do that with 32 teams. With 16, you could probably get away with it, which looks like they did. For Jackpot, the Jackpot did not lose a single game until they went up against FT Win. And I didn't see this set because Falcon and I were commentating this set opposite of it on the IPL channel. I saw clips from this one. Obviously, FT Win winning 3-2. And then Jackpot falling down here, ultimately being knocked out by Fiesta in sweeping faction. And I did see that set live on the Dapple production stream. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be a Jackpot apologist. All of them are constantly saying like, hey, we need to practice more. We're not happy with our result. We're going to get better. I will, it happens. Yes, the goal for Jackpot, I'm assuming at this point, is win every tournament we sign up in, and anything that's not winning is going to be a failure in their eyes. And that's rough. I mean, I talk about it, the same mentality of Low Ink. Teams that sign up with Low Ink with win at all costs, that's rough for them. The difference, though, is when Starburst was on their game, it seemed like they just kept winning until they came up against a Flippa-Floppa or a Kings in the end. And that's essentially what Jackpot ran up against here in this tournament. This version of the King or Flippa-Floppa, the role of the Japanese monster this time around, is being played by Fiesta, the team that, I'll be honest, I commentated them versus Comet X live, and I watched both teams, and I'm sitting here thinking, Comet has played in a lot of our majors, but they always are like a bronze placement at best and somewhere middle of the pack at worst. So when Comet beat Fiesta, I had no idea how to compare them two together, but I was thinking, okay, I'm assuming Fiesta's like a fourth place team in this tournament. And then when they got losers, they just flipped the switch. And Duck Motif almost knocked them out all the way down here as well. But Fiesta, the scrappiest team, I think, to ever win a 20XX. But it does fit a theme. The past 4 20XXs, so number 2, 3, 4, and 5, all of them been won by a team from Japan. Kings, Flippa-Floppa, which did have Kyo on it, but 3 other players from Japan. And Fiesta becomes the 4th straight team made up of mostly players from Japan to win 20XX. But Fiesta becomes the team that now holds a new unique record. They have the most losses of any team to ever win 20XX. They lost 11 times. 11 times. There are a lot of, and there's a lot of one losses that they took here and there. Moonlight took a game off of them. Duck Motif took 3 games off of them. Comet took 3 games off of them. FT Win took 2. Jackpot's really the only team that didn't take one off of them. And I feel like they lost another individual game during the Saturday stage as well. Whale Gang took a game off of them. So, yeah, as far as like dominance goes, Fiesta is the least dominant champion maybe we've ever had in a Splatoon 3 major. Having to come in from the loser's side, having to get pushed to a Game 5 multiple times. I think at least 4 times. No, I think at least 3 times they got pushed to a Game 5. And they're the last team standing against an FT Win team. Could you imagine having to play FT Win and it is 4 o'clock local time on a Monday and you beat them twice? Whew. So that's your 20XX. But we still got some things to talk about here. Pinky, we're going to skip the weekly recap because I rambled on here for a little bit and it's my wife's birthday, so I don't want to spend too much time. So we're going to skip the weekly recap. Rams had a bye week, so they didn't lose, in case you were looking for that. Steelers won. Congratulations for them. But let's move along here. Keep the 20XX conversation going. So welcome into the Popcast. Org head and lead graphic designer for Dapple Production and a big fan of the color pink, believe it or not. Pinky, how's morale at Dapple Productions HQ today?
Oh, it's great.
Oh, wait, hold on. You got your webcam on. Let me...
Yeah.
Hold on. I was not prepared for this. Don't worry. We'll make this work. Feel free to keep talking while I screw this up.
Morale is absolutely incredible. Side note, I noticed you're also rocking the pink shirt. Is that intentional or?
Okay, so I was. Oh, that's not the right. That's kind of the right one here. Okay, so we're working on getting you one. Yes, I do plan to have what shirts or something that I try to wear. I was originally going to wear flannel, and then I was looking at your bio on Twitter, and I was like, okay, you really love the color pink. Let's put on some pink and make it work. And the people can't see you yet, but you are also wearing pink, so that works out. Gosh. You know what? We might just roll with this. This works. This isn't the correct screen, but you know what? Welcome to the Popcast. We make things up as we go along here.
Yeah.
How'd you get into TOing? How long have you been TOing?
Uh, it's a long time. I wasn't always TOing. Okay, so I was a competitive player a long time ago. Like I started playing competitive Splatoon at the start of Splatoon 2, but I was an active like casual player ever since um Splatoon 1. So in Splatoon 2 I played a lot of tournaments and then I was like, this is I could do this. Why not do this? Right? So I created this event. It was supposed to be a weekly. It was called Poseidon Cup. Um, by the way, side note, could you use your camera on Discord just so I have,
Yes, I can. So
if
it's
if
not
that's
so
not too
awkward
much
that you're
trouble?
not looking at.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
we can
yeah.
make that
It's
work.
just that's so. But yeah, I met this tournament and I called it Poseidon Cup, which if the name sounds familiar, was the original Tridon Cup. It was run on a Friday, and yeah, it was run on a Friday, and uh, I tried to make it weekly. It didn't work because there was too much manual labor. So that sort of died out. And then after a while, I got contacted by Alice and was told to TO paddling pool, become like a TO for paddling pool. And I became the like owner of paddling pool from like 60 to like 70, so like a long time ago. And a lot of the stuff that I learned from my first Endeavor tournament. I put in paddling pool, which was um like because the process was too manual, and I wanted to make things more automatic. So stuff that is like in our tournaments standard right now, which is the automatic roll capture, the auto report scores, the like I took a lot of liberties to create this manual labor and automatic labor, and that's I think one big reason why paddling pool is still running after like 4 years or so, because it's very easy to run. Um, and, and yeah, I when Alice made when Alice came back from hiatus, she made double productions, and I was originally in, but I wasn't in the position I am today. Um, and once I saw the opportunity, I was like, okay, I want to be a bigger part of this organization, but I want some stock in it, So
Yeah.
that's sort of the genesis of how I became involved in Tiong and how I became productions.
So where can I buy stock in Dapple Productions? Is it public trading company yet?
Not yet. We're
Not
working.
yet. That's okay. I got you on here. I can't not have you on here without asking this question. Why challenge?
Because that was the original website we used 4 years ago and we haven't changed it yet. We are patiently waiting for Sendu.inc
Okay, yeah.
tournament. And once that comes out, Pattern Pool is the first tournament that will move into that website. But until then, we're stuck on challenge because it's convenient.
Has there ever been a Wednesday where there wasn't a paddling pool?
Uh, there has been multiple, but it was mostly either because the TOs were sick or it was like a holiday, like Christmas. But lately, I know last year Alice made it her mission to not miss a paddling pool. So I think it was like Christmas. She was like, "No, I'm gonna run in paddling pool." I'm like, "Okay." So she did that, and yeah.
Uh, so 20XX obviously went this last weekend. How did it, from your guys' perspective, How do you feel about how it went?
Oh, we loved it. We were really like trying something new with all this production stuff. In terms there's a lot of new stuff we did for these 20xx. Um, there's you can argue that a lot of the previous 20xx's were bigger in terms of viewership numbers and in terms of team playing, but I think what we nailed it at this time around and what I cared more about was like the production and the quality and the viewing experience, and I think we nailed that, which um that's all I care about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could tell from the not just the fact that people are using webcams on, or that you got two different organizations streaming the event. You also had a lot of the little like team interviews kind of mixed in
Yeah.
there in between the things, and also Jim Squid School. But you guys had that in the previous one. That's a good
Mhm.
little buffer in between things where we're usually just like, oh, we'll just take a break, and then you see just the background for like 15 minutes without
Yeah.
anything going on. Um, what was it? Were teams like really into the whole interview thing? Well, like when you reach out to them, it's like, hey, do you want to do this? Was it like pretty much, yeah, we're all on board to do something like this?
Well, I contacted about nine teams, and out of those teams, only four. I only managed to do four interviews, which was Spark, Black Lotus, Jackpot, and FT Win. So the acceptance rate is 50%, which is still higher than the +3 voting. But yeah, I
You know,
mean, yeah,
oh, I was just gonna say, when the Ink TV Resurgence League happened, they did a lot of those kind of like content kind of things, and Spoon was always saying, like, I wish other, like, I'm gonna show the community how this is done, and like other people should take up this cusp and do it. I feel like you guys are the first ones to do stuff like that since Ink TV's league. Was it at all influenced by what happened in the Ink TV thing?
oh, 100%. That was my original. So just a small detail. I'm not very original in what I do.
That's
So, so
none of us are
you
really. It's
so but what I am is I am a good listener, and I listen to people who have more experience than me and they're smarter than me, and I sort of take their advice on stuff, which and the whole Spoon interview, and especially like the small the silly question segment that was on stream. It was something that Spoon recommended on his podcast with Gus
yeah,
on
yeah.
Splatbox on YouTube. Yeah, so that was the original. That was the genesis of. Let's be silly. I don't necessarily want to see like all these top players be professional. I want to bring out the personality in all these teams, which at the end of the day, this is all about. This is all it's about. It's about showcasing our community's personality and bring that out there in the world. And that's why I really try to do it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Gus's interview, because that's where the question I basically posed was like Spoon saying, "I wish other people did this." That's basically where I
Yeah.
got it from, and I listened to that. I've listened to everything Gus did as well. Is there, other than me and Gus, are there other people that you listen to for like insight on things like that? Just out of my own curiosity.
I mean, there's so many podcasts. There's no many podcasts. I love to do work and to have like a podcast or anything like in my ears. Um, and when I first found out your podcast, I was like this eureka moment. I was like, wait, this is fun. This community in this game, and I'm directly involved in. This person is talking about it and is giving like like it's making entertaining and it's giving an actual mature opinion about the important subjects, which was like a complete breath of fresh air after the whole I don't know, but you've been on Splatoon Twitter for a long time, and you sort of become sort of insensitized. I don't know the word. To all this fake drama and oh, why you didn't choose me on plastic? Like nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. So it was yeah.
Yeah, you do kind of get drowned out of like, oh well, this is the only topic people are talking about. But yeah, it's like okay, what weed through the crap. What's the actual thing we should be learning from this here? Um, Less teams in this 20XX, about 70 or so. Uh, any cause of concern for that, or like is that worrisome in any way?
No, not at all. I don't think it was in our um scope. Like we couldn't do anything about it. If anything, this 20XX had more promotion done to it than any of our other events, and it has this low number of. I don't know why that is, but lately, the later tournaments have had a lot of lower signups, and maybe it's what you say. Maybe it's looty, sort of burnout. Maybe it's sort of some people getting tired of the game. Maybe it's exam seasons. It's a combination of all those things. But the signups was not something we were worried about. We were worried. We What we cared about was to provide an entertaining show for the people, and I think we achieved that.
Could you explain like how much prep work goes into making this? Because I think people don't understand that. They probably think, oh, you just build the site and then you just go and it's that simple. Like, no, there's a lot that goes into this. Could you give some insight for that?
Right. So I mean, the first thing was the decision to change the format, which I was originally the most against about it, that I did not like that. I do not like strategy, both as a competitor and as a TO, and I really and Toaster really showed me the light. Pretty much, like it was like this format is perfect, and this is how it works, and this is how it is, and it's like okay, this sounds really good, and you have like examples of the super jump three. So that was sort of the starting point. The next point was identifying all the stuff that need to be made, which is like trailers, graphics, like interviews, like the stream elements, um like the collection of more TOs to help out with the project is like all of those things which I cannot do alone. Um, and so a big part of this sort of production is not necessarily what one person can do. It really is a team effort. But you need sort of the brains. Okay. Side note about me. I'm studying architecture, and if you know anything about architects, um, they don't like an architect has a vision. They have a vision of what the building is supposed to be, but they can't build the building. They're not an engineer. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a topographer. But I have a vision of what the final project it has to be, and I have to contact all these different parties who expertise in these different sort of fields and sort of guide them towards the direction that I will like them to go. And that was sort of the main focus that I I focused on in terms of production. I mean, I did like most of the graphic design stuff that you saw on stream. I had either 100% control of, or I was directly like involved in. But a lot of different parties, like a video editor. I don't know how to video edit. Like an animator. I don't know how to animate like the stinger, like or whatever. Brass did an amazing job on the stingers. Um, and like I don't know how to do all this stuff, but I know the people that can, and my job is to take this vision that I have and say, okay, everybody, you do this, you do this, you do this, and we go from there.
Did you get any? First off, congratulations that there was no dumpster fire on Twitter about this tournament, like previous tournaments on the IPL side in the past. Did you get any feedback so far that was like, oh, that's something I didn't think about. That's something we should consider going forward.
Um, well, not any feedback necessarily from players, but Baha did mention to me that maybe it was overproduced,
Overproduced.
which is yeah, because the comment was like specifically in the set between losers finals and grand finals where both teams are ready, but we have all this stuff on stream, which is the gem has to go for the analysis desk, and then we have the silly segments, and then we have the advertisements for on stream, and these teams have to wait, which I think it's a small trade-off because the earlier matches they have a long waiting time, and I'm really trying to minimize all this downtime in between the actual content of the tournament, which is the sets, um, which is in this kind of tournament. I think that's what it should strive to do. It should strive to be as entertaining as possible, as long as possible, and minimize the downtime in between what is the actual content of the tournament.
Well, if you watch a land tournament, they go for that kind of like you're talking about. Like, let's try to make as little dead time as possible. Let's try to make things as entertaining as we can. Um, and of course, you're not gonna like. It's not like paddling pool is gonna be pulling off these kinds of in between things. Like this is a major that you're trying to do. So I get that, and it's from someone who's not I'm not the productions of IPL. I'm the very last person that comes with productions. But whenever I like have a tournament idea or something, and it's like, well, why don't we just do this? The production will usually push back and be like, well, no, because it's going to require like this amount of work and all this other stuff. And it's like, I can't understand that. But yeah, the overproduced, that is I don't know if that is a term I've heard for anything. I think that's got to be a compliment, honestly, for
Yeah,
Splatoon.
yeah. I remember. I was sort of flattered when Baja mentioned that, but yeah.
We're doing too much. I don't know. So I guess again, like congratulations that the event went through. It seemed to be fun. Oh, one genuine question: was it always supposed to be 16 teams for Alpha, or did that like be downscaled because of the 70
No,
teams that
we
signed up?
we adjusted the format because we had less teams.
Okay.
The format will not work. According to Toasty, the golden number is 96. So if you have less than 96 teams, you change the format to what we have.
Is that a number that's divisible by 16 or something, or
I
8? That's
I'm not quite sure. I don't know the math, but I know that Toasty told me that the 96 was the golden number. So
he's
I
there's
trusted that.
logic behind it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
whatever. 97.8 teams exactly. Okay, fine. I forgot to write this down, but this is obviously an important thing to talk about with any TO I'm bringing on within the past week or so. It's I mean obviously we woke up on that one Tuesday and we're like, oh my gosh, what is this? You and I had a DM conversation that day. I was just like, hey, what when the Japan one came out, I was just like, hey, could what are your thoughts on this? And you guys were like, oh, we think we'll be fine. We feel like the teams from Japan can still play in 20XX, which seems to be true. And then the EU document dropped, and then you and me were like, oh shit, what is this? So like, where I guess where are you guys at today with the community guidelines? Like, how are you feeling about things?
right. Honestly, just having time to digest everything in and getting the information we've been getting from various different sources and from our direct sources, um, with Nintendo of Europe, I think I think that all of these guidelines is only going to be positive. I don't think there's anything. that is in the guidelines that will sort of hinder us. Like all of those guidelines is exactly what the name implies. It's a guideline. It's not a strict sort of this is what you do, end of story. There's a lot of leeway, and from what I understand, I mean, we weren't the primary uh like target for this sort of attack. The primary target for this was melee, right?
Yeah.
Like that was their primary target. Nintendo, uh, they don't like melee. They repeat it time and time again. They do not like the melee community for many different reasons. But I our community was sort of hitting this crossfire. But I honestly think it's going to be better for at least for Europe, right? Because I know that NA is directly that, like in the long term, the fact that it hits melee, it hits all of these big LAN tournaments that Splatoon sort of leached off to. So I'm not quite sure how that's gonna play out in the North America side of things, but from what I understand so far, and I could be wrong, and I could come tomorrow and say, okay, screw everything. All of these changes for the Nintendo of Europe are positive.
Yeah, I've seen some of the same things you have, and on that Tuesday I was like, okay, I'm not going to tweet out anything because I genuinely don't know what this is, but this does seem bad. But every day it's just like, okay, back to earth. We're gonna be fine. Um, and yeah, I don't think Mario Kart competitive is going to be taking a hit anytime soon. I don't, even if they had a tournament that got over 300 teams, I don't know about that. Have you been to a Splatoon land before? Slash, have plans to go to one in the future?
I have been in exactly two, and it was RSL 2, which I came second. And in Breeze, the last Breeze, which I came like fifth or something. And it's the LAN is always like an amazing experience. Like I like my experience with the LANs were sort of on my end cycle of my competitive like sort of like career. It was sort of the cherry on top. It was like, okay, all of these friends you've uh, been talking to and have been interacting with all of these years, now you get to meet those people and you get to hang out with them, and that was an experience like no other,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's why everyone should go to Breeze, if you can. What was your main?
um Junior, I was a
Okay.
support. I was a support player, and I had this sort of catchphrase that many friends of mine still make fun of me, which I said, "Junior is a slayer." And what I sort of meant with that is, if you're going to play support, you have to sort of be in the mentality to not be afraid to put yourself in danger and assist your team with the aggression of your team. I never made it to like top level, but I was pretty decent back in my time.
Did you you finished second place at RSL2? Do you have a
Yes,
trophy for that? They give you any
I have
swag?
a I have a medal which is a few thousand miles away because I'm studying
Oh,
in the UK. I don't have it right
well
here,
there.
but I did get a medal and exactly and I got I think exactly the the amount that I paid for signing into the tournament. I got back as a prize. I was like, okay, sure.
Well, there you go. Operated in the black. Not many people can say they've done that with a Splatoon tournament. Um, where can people find you? Go ahead, and plug yourself.
um, I have a Twitter. It's pinky underscore FLCL. I tweet sometimes. I'm not very active. but you will find me TOing, um, and sort of being like always around in the dapple. Which, by the way, if there's anything to plug, is if you want to be involved in our production stuff in Dapple Productions, we're always looking for new talent. We're always on the lookout, so feel free to reach out to me. I'm very easily reachable. Yeah, that's from me.
My contract with IPL is up at the end of the year. Uh, should I contact your agent? I'm not cheap, but I
we'll we'll figure something out. If we
how
can get a sticker on that mic,
there.
we will.
That's what I'm talking about. Right there. I feel like we got some space for it. But I mean, if you guys ever want me to run Ink of the Low Variety at Dapple Productions, just hit up my agent. I'll let you know what my fees are. We can make it work. I'm just going to throw that idea out there.
All right.
Pinky, thank you for coming on and
Thank you very
being
much.
a loyal viewer of the Popcast. And we'll continue to support Dapple Productions and everything you guys are up to going forward.
Thank you very much.
And that was Pinky, the head organization head and lead graphic designer for Dapple Productions. I love talking to TOs. And also, shout outs to all the people who watch this live in Europe. I know it's late for you guys, but I've had a lot of people from EU on the show live this past year. It's at some point I got to make it work out to where I talk to somebody at 2 a.m. my local time to make it fair. But I'm glad people enjoy listening to this because I enjoy talking. So, and I like having one interesting people like Pinky to talk to. It makes this a whole lot more fun. To answer a highlighted question in chat from AirSign, yes, I did get my wife every year. She wants I've been talking about Dairy Queen a lot. She likes Dairy Queen ice cream cakes. So we got the Dairy Queen ice cream cake, and it is in the freezer. I think we got to put it out in the refrigerator for 20 minutes to thaw. But I like eating a brick of thing. Personally, I like cookie cakes. But ice cream cakes are what the Miss Pop Gun is all about. So that is what we're going to roll with here. That is going to do it for today's episode of the Popcast. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast anyway, feel free to reach out at my socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord, Popgun, hashtag 5882. Actually, no, I'm just so in autopilot if I do these things. Blue Sky. At just straight up Popgun. Let's raid Mel. And hopefully raid works. Twitch has been really weird as of late. But make sure you guys get vaccinated, wear a mask when applicable, stay safe, and we will see you next week with the low ink recap and high ink recap, I guess.